Okay, so we're gonna go on just to some games that we're gonna talk about. So, what do you guys think of the new Final Fantasy remake, the Intergrade, quote unquote DLC? Because they're not calling it DLC, which but it actually
And
is.
it's a DLC.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the release, which is coming out on June 10th? So it's coming out next month. Danny, I know you played the remake more than I did, even though I beat it. So what do you think of the potential? I guess it's
Why
DLC.
don't you go to them first because I'm a bit of a fanboy, so I'm curious what they say.
Okay.
Oh, it's gonna be fast as hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna get the mic back in like 2 seconds, bro.
Yeah.
Have you guys played the remake at all? Either one of you?
No, no, I
I
haven't.
have. I just didn't get very far.
Hmm. Fans of the original?
I've never played the
Yeah.
original either.
Oh my god,
Well,
get off.
Kevin.
Get off the channel.
All right,
and he's fired.
I'll see you guys later.
How you like RPG games but never play the original Final Fantasy?
Um,
Wow, that's like the fastest I've heard you talk.
yeah, that was impressive. Um, it wasn't at the time. I didn't play Final Fantasy because it wasn't in my radar. It was Legend of Dragoon
Ooh, yeah.
because so it was like
That
Final
was another
Fantasy. I
Square
didn't know.
Enix game, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I didn't know about Final Fantasy till like in my teens, like specifically 7, and then I started going back and like watching like my brothers would play the game, so I would like backseat drive and just watch the game. But I've never seen somebody play Final Fantasy or even play Final Fantasy 7 from start to end. But I have the game now, so eventually I'll get to it.
And
I had
Randy,
it.
I
what's your
played the
excuse?
original. I don't know. I did enjoy the combat. I did like what they were doing with it. But what the fuck was I playing? This was before. I think it was Okami that I was like
Mm-hmm.
going on for.
Kingdom Hearts.
No, it definitely was Kingdom Hearts at the time. Because I wouldn't have stopped. Dude, I didn't even stop playing Kingdom Hearts to play Kingdom Hearts 3. The fuck? Like,
Whoops.
but yeah, no, I don't know. I do kind of want to get back to it, but also like, it's not an immediate necessity to me. Like, I know I'm gonna finish Nier before I finish fucking Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I
that
feel like
interests
it's
you
one of
more,
those
right?
things. Yeah, and aside from, I feel like I would want to play the remake in its entirety as opposed to just like episodically.
True.
Because even though like it is what
That's gonna be a long time though.
yeah, and that's
Well, just
fine.
as long as the 3 CD original PlayStation games, though.
Yeah, and even though it was 3 CDs, you still had immediate access to everything at that moment, as opposed to it just being like, oh, here's remake, oh, here's remake Intergrade, oh, here's remake Revolution, here's Final Fantasy 7 Reloaded. Like, uh,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Danny.
That is the part that it's really frustrating because I remember I don't take time off from work much unless I'm on vacation, but I took a day off work just to play the game,
oh my god.
and my wife made fun of me. People at work made fun of me. Well, I don't give a fuck. You can't just play Nintendo? Well, yes, I am. Um, um, so because I was a huge fan of the original Final Fantasy. I mean, Final Fantasy VII is the game that got me into playing games, hardcore. You know, I mean, we played Mario, we played all the old Nintendo games as a kid growing up, whatever. But the hardcore wanting to play games and wanting to figure out every little aspect of the game was Final Fantasy. So that it was my gateway to everything. So when they did the remake, I fell in love with the remake. Absolutely everything about it. Because the remake is what everybody now thinks about remakes. When everybody talks about a remake, they think of Final Fantasy VII because they did it so well. They took the world of this great game, the concept, everything about it, storyline, and they revved it up to 100%. You know, you're in
Yeah.
the world, you can see Midgard, you can, see the reactor, you go in there, roam around a little bit, not as much free range you would think still linear game, very much so, but still, you feel like you're in the world.
So what are
And
your thoughts? So what are your thoughts on Intergrade now? Like now, like this DLC is focusing on Yuffie, which is a
well, that's what I
pretty
well,
much a
that's what
side
I,
character.
well, that's what I was getting to, is that Final Fantasy 7, obviously, they only give you the first part when you're in Midgar, whatever. And it's a little disappointing because as a fan, I know could happen or what's going to happen or predicted to happen, and you're not getting that now. And it would be one thing if they gave it to you within a few years. And they're like, okay, fine, I don't mind waiting 2 years. But it feels like it's going to be like 5 years total from when they gave you the last game,
Yeah.
because they're giving you this part right now because it's been like 2 years now, and they giving you this as just something just to quench your thirst. Here, play this game. Don't worry, don't forget about us. We're still working on the other ones, and we're gonna remaster. We're gonna, do it for PS5. Update the graphics a little bit, which is so minute. Like I've seen those comparisons. I'm not sure if you guys seen it, but like the Final Fantasy PS5 versus the old version, you can't really tell a difference at all because the game was done really well. It was done at the tail end of the PS4 era, which is great graphics, which always happens. So the PS5 version looks almost exactly the same. So like, why play that? The Yuffie thing again, it's just a small DLC that they're using to try to give you a taste, and at the end of the Yuffie game, it's gonna connect to what the next part 2 is gonna be. Whether she robs you, takes all your material, like in the storyline,
Yeah.
whatever. But that's what's gonna happen, and that's gonna be their, hey, Final Fantasy 7 comes out next year, 2022, whatever it is. Like I feel like that's what's gonna happen towards the end of it. Because this is just the little patch or the little delay tactic almost.
Yeah, it's something. It's something to whet the appetite right now for all those people that are waiting. I was gonna mention for you guys and anyone listening that haven't played the original Final Fantasy VII and curious about who this girl is. Yuffie was a side character. She was an optional character that you can get once you leave Midgar. There are quite a few towns that you have to travel to and do a couple of side missions, and you still continue the story. But when you're walking in the world map, you can kind of run into her as a battle, and then you have to fight her, and then you got to select a bunch of like specific options in the chat dialogue in order for you to properly eventually get her. So like she's just a side character. She's kind of like a ninja thief type of person. She steals your material a couple of times, that kind of stuff. So like Danny, me and Danny talked about the sequel before, or a possible sequel before in the future, and Danny had this really good idea that like Yuffie would be the perfect reason why you'd have to start all over from scratch in the next game, because since Yuffie steals all your stuff, she might possibly steal everything from you, in this DLC maybe, or whatever the sequel may be, and then you start over from scratch again, developing your character all over again in the next game. I thought that was a brilliant idea.
Because if you think about it, you have a sequel. I don't really know what the next this part 2 of the remake is going to be called or considered, because hasn't been done, this episodic thing like this to this magnitude anyway. So you have to have a way you have to have that leveling system almost, right? You have to have that. You're weak in the beginning of the game, and towards the end of the game, you're super maxed out, and then even after you beat the game, you keep playing, and you become even more powerful, right? And everybody's done that. Everybody's played Final Fantasy, the original, right now, and they've gotten every single move and weapon and accessory and best weapon you can get. So all that has to kind of go away in order for the next part to be fun and be playable and have that same achievement that every game has.
Yeah.
And the only way you can really do that is by having something really lame, by either it just restarts and people get pissed, but like, what the hell's the point of me, playing, or have it in storyline way. And Final Fantasy VII original does, because they have this side character. Why else would they focus on Yuffie as this little thing? And they know what happens in the original game. As soon as you meet her and she becomes one of your things, she steals your material right away. And that was always the thing. Then you have to go to where she lives, do that part. Otherwise, you don't get any of your stuff back. Which is to ruin your game.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that
People. Sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, so that's just like the perfect. To me, it's just the perfect way of doing it.
People are kind of like confused about why Yuffie, is in Midgar because that's not part of the original story. But
Yeah.
obviously, Square is doing things a bit differently now, so the storyline has changed dramatically in some parts, anyways. So
Yeah.
Yuffie being in Midgar could have been a side story, and then she meets up. She meets up with the actual, original cast somewhere else down the line. So this is just strictly a story with Yuffie and some other extra characters that we've never seen before. So this is a whole new thing. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm
I
gonna
am
play
too.
it
I
myself.
remember because I love the way the game played. I mean, the game was super fun. It was
Yeah.
very unique the way they integrated this half turn based, half action
Yeah.
You're used
RPG
to the way
element.
that they integrated?
Yeah, integrate
In, in,
it.
Intergraded. I think that's the
Integrated?
wrong word, but sure.
No, it's integrate,
Yeah.
definitely. But yo, wordplay,
Whatever.
come on, Danny.
So
Your fucking Destiny hat.
So
yeah,
where
you're
I
right.
wore it
where
just for
where
you, actually, from the comment last
Bro,
week.
shit.
that's
So, question. So, you know how, like, it's supposed to be, like, take a shot for mentioning or whatever the case. If you're wearing the paraphernalia, should you just, like, down the whole fucking bottle? Because I see that your shirt, actually, if I'm not
My shirt
mistaken,
is Destiny too. Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah. These
oh.
are exclusive
That
shirts.
and that tattoo on your arm.
Well, that's not Destiny.
The other one, you have the
It's
Final Fantasy on the arm, other
Did,
arm.
did, didn't you
I
have
have
something
Final.
that
I
was
have Final
fucking
Fantasy.
Destiny inspired?
No, I have Final Fantasy
No?
8, and then I have
Yeah.
Zelda over here, and then fucking fuck. I can't even show you here.
We just want to try to
Fairy Tale.
I got fucking hell. I got Goku Black. I got Stitch, and then I got To Be Continued.
To be
And then
continued.
I love that one.
And then I also have
Oh
Fairy
yeah,
Tale.
the Fairy Tale. Yeah, that's what got us before.
Oh shit!
Danny,
Oh
holy
shit!
shit!
Oh shit! What happened?
It'll be fun.
You got a glimpse of Danny.
Looks comfy.
Oh,
Yeah.
tits,
All right, so
tits.
we're gonna go to the next game.
Wait, I wanted to ask a question.
Uh-huh.
It's Final Fantasy related. When are they gonna add Vincent? That's all I care about. That's the only character I know.
they
And
have-
Red 13.
There's a
They have-
Cerberus remake.
So
Shut up.
Vincent also, for those who don't know, Vincent was also
What?
another optional side character,
For
but
those
he
that don't
was
know.
insanely popular though. So Square has actually said that they're going to add him in the next, or not the next game, but they're going to add him in the story as a main character. He will not be a side character, so he would be included in the story.
I wouldn't be
Yay.
surprised if they do like
With
an
his-
integrate it with him as well.
Maybe.
With his side
After the next part comes out, like
Yeah.
continue that trend.
Man's had some big ass feet though. I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
Yeah, you know what they
Those
say.
are clown shoes. Yeah.
I don't know, but here's my question. You said you never actually played the Final Fantasy games. So what do you know about Vincent?
He had
Because of
Dirge Cerberus.
Yes,
They're
I
just
had Dirge
Cerberus.
of Cerberus.
Okay.
My brother played it, and I also played what is it? Dissidia?
Oh, the city.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
was
the
in
fighting-
video.
Was he? Remind me.
No,
like
no.
with
Which
because of because of 7, my brother would play it, and he like introduced me to the characters.
Oh.
So then I started expanding my horizon with those.
Was he still a
Oh.
Turk? Was he still a Turk in Crisis Core? Like, did they actually show him in Crisis Core? I can't remember.
he was not in Crisis Core.
Crisis Core.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
No.
Reno was in Crisis Core, and that's about it. Because it was Reno, Yuffie as a kid.
I think the time of
he
Crisis
was,
Core, he's asleep in the coffin.
He's already asleep. Okay,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.